Hi there, future PEs. This video is an extract from one of my live training sessions that I conducted with my PE Power students who are enrolled in my weekly live training program that builds on top of the on-demand content. This is a very interesting problem. Now, switching gears a little bit, NFPA, Hazardous Area Classification. And you guys know that within my PE Power program, the approach that I've taken when it comes to hazardous area classification is a little bit different, correct? How is it different? I actually don't start with the standards 497, 499, and 30B. I start with NEC Chapter number 5, correct? Because NEC Chapter number 5 deals with what? NEC Chapter number 5 gives you a much broader and higher level overview of hazardous area classification. Whereas 497, 499, and 30B are very, very specific. And we go through them in detail as well, right? But chapter number 5 is a good read, in my opinion. So this is a question the student is asking. Looking through my copy of NEC, I see, please see the first picture. So that's the one in question. 500.5A1 info node 1.8. And please see the second picture, NEC 500.5 A22. And I just wanted to make sure I was understanding correctly. So here's the question. If the ventilation system is working, this would be classified as class 1 div 2. And if the ventilation stopped working, then does that mean it could be classified as class 1 div 1? Okay, so I'm going to read this. Inadequately ventilated pump rooms for flammable gas or for volatile flammable liquids. Okay, and then the other reference that he's providing or quoting is in which ignitable concentrations of flammable gases, flammable liquid produce vapors, or combustible liquid produce vapors are normally prevented by positive mechanical ventilation and which might become hazardous through failure or abnormal operation of the ventilating equipment. And what is the thing? What's the main question here? Are we dealing with class 1 div 1 or are we dealing with class 1 div 2? Division. So when we are dealing with hazardous area classification, guys, if you take a step back, div 1 versus div 2, what's the difference? Div 1 is when we have the hazard available under normal operating conditions or abnormal operating conditions. So div 1 is high probability, meaning that under normal operating conditions, we have the hazard present, right? So you are walking into that region or that area expecting flammable material or whatever, gases or vapors are. You expect that they are going to be around. And you basically design the equipment and take the necessary precautions. Div 2 is that there's low probability that it will only be present if and when something abnormal happens. Now, if you look at what the student is asking, when so is the ventilation system supposed to be working under normal operating condition? What do you guys think? Yes, that's what it is there for. I mean, if it is not working under normal operating condition, might as well not have it, correct? So your normal operating condition is that the ventilation system, and there are different ways of like reference to code sections. So over here we have inadequately ventilated pump rooms for flammable gas or volatile, and you have to look at the broader, the preamble and discussion around it. So if we have ventilation, or if we have created positive mechanical pressure ventilation system, that means that under normal operating condition, you don't have these hazards present, right? And how would you classify it? As class 1 or whichever class it is, div 2 or div 1, if we have ventilation present. Div 2 is low probability. and div 1 is the high probability. Correct? No, if you have ventilation present, then this would be div 2. We don't expect the gases to be around or whatever the source of the hazard is to be around. Only when the ventilation breaks down, then it becomes a div 1. So my response to the student was that, yes, your assumption is correct. I can foresee some play on the words in this scenario, such as inadequate ventilation versus adequate ventilation. So if the problem statement tells you that we have inadequate ventilation present, right? Then because of the inadequacy of the ventilation, are you guys following me here? Because of the inadequacy of the ventilation, the hazard can be around. So even in normal operating condition, because your ventilation may not be properly sized, or you could have some other issues, right? There's not enough air exchange, right? Despite having a ventilation, right? But this ventilation is inadequate, this will still be qualified as a high risk situation. Okay. So the wording and the context is the key. So these type of problems, like if you remember FE electrical ethics section, it was a test of your reading comprehension. Remember? Once you nail down the scenario that's being asked and you basically focus on what essentially is going on here, it was super easy. Like if you were able to paraphrase it properly, correct? Same deal over here. So if I throw in some adjectives, right, or more description around what type of ventilation it is, then even if we have ventilation, inadequate ventilation will actually result in a different classification. Okay, depending on how these keywords are used in the problem statement, the scenario can change very quickly from div 1 to div 2 and vice versa. If you want to learn more about preparation of FE Electrical and Computer exam and the P-Power exam, then check out these playlists over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next video.